Hello everyone. Today's interesting topic is cranial nerve concerned with hearing and balance. So this is the eighth cranial nerve. It's also called the vestibulocochlear nerve. So this cranial nerve is the major nerve which is arising from the inner ear. Let's see one by one. Coming to the cochlear nerve, we can see this is the cochlear duct. Okay, spirally twisted 2.5 turns. This is the cochlear duct. Within that endolymph is there, and the receptor for hearing is organ of Corti. Within this organ of Corti there are two types of cells, the inner hair cells and the outer hair cells. The stimulation of these hair cells by the movement or the wave created within the endolymph stimulates the entry of potassium ion into these hair cells, resulting in transformation of the sound wave, which is a mechanical energy, into an electrical energy or a nerve impulse within one nerve called as cochlear nerve. The beginning of the cochlear nerve is by a bipolar neuron which is arranged spirally, as you can see. So that is called as spiral ganglion. That is also called as cochlear ganglion. Collection of neuronal cell bodies outside the CNS is called as ganglion. So this is the first order neuron. Since it is a bipolar neuron, the peripheral process goes towards the hair cells, which is there in the organ of Corti, and the central process, all the central process unites and goes towards the brainstem. You can see here, it's going towards the brainstem by forming cochlear nerve. So where does it go? It enters the brainstem at the level of pons. Here there are two set of nuclei present within the pons. It's called as ventral and dorsal cochlear nuclei. So this cochlear nerve helps in hearing. So this is the nerve of hearing. Among the vestibulocochlear nerve, the cochlear nerve is the nerve of hearing. Moving on to the balance, we have two types of balance. As we are sitting now or standing, that is called as static balance or static equilibrium. When we are moving around, we should balance ourselves, either when you are walking, running, jumping, jolting, or cycling, or riding a two-wheeler, we should balance ourselves, right? So that is called as kinetic balance or kinetic equilibrium. In order to do the static equilibrium, we have something called as macula. The receptor for static balance is called as macula. It is present within a cubical chamber called vestibule. Inside the two chambers are there. One is like a sac, so we call it as a saccule. Other one is like a U-shaped tube, so we call it as utricle. So what is the receptor for static balance? It's the macula, M-A-C-U-L-A, macula, present within the saccule and utricle. So getting the information from this saccule and utricle, there is again a bipolar neuron which can now be called as vestibular ganglion, because this peripheral process goes towards the macula. The central process, as you can see this red color line diagram, this forms the vestibular nerve. This vestibular nerve enters the brainstem. Again at what level? At the level of pontomedullary junction. Here we have four nuclei. The name of the nuclei are superior, inferior, medial and lateral vestibular nuclei. So this helps in static balance. Moving on to the kinetic balance, as we can see, there are three semicircular canals. The superior semicircular canal, okay, this one which is facing upwards. The posterior semicircular canal which is facing backwards. And the lateral, this one, the lateral or horizontal semicircular canal. The superior semicircular canal is present in the sagittal plane. The posterior is present in the coronal plane, and the lateral semicircular canal is present in the horizontal or a transverse plane. Each semicircular canal has got a dilatation. You can see that here each canal has got a dilatation, which we call it as an ampulla, A-M-P-U-L-L-A. Within this ampulla we have the receptor for kinetic balance, that is called as crista ampullaris, C-R-I-S-T-A, crista ampullaris, A-M-P-U-L-L-A-R-I-S. So this crista ampullaris, the receptor for kinetic balance, receives the bipolar neuron. Again, the name of the neuron is vestibular ganglion. From there it receives the nerve fibers. You can see all the three ampullas, the superior, the posterior and the lateral is receiving the peripheral process. The central process of these vestibular ganglion is going towards the brainstem. Again to the same set of nuclei, the superior, inferior, medial and lateral vestibular nuclei. So this is the part of balance pathway or the balance system. So the cranial nerve of interest which helps in hearing and balance are 8th cranial nerve or the vestibulocochlear nerve. To summarize, the cochlear nerve receives the information from the endolymph of the cochlea from the receptor for hearing called as organ of Corti. Within that receptor there are hair cells, inner and outer hair cells. These cochlear nerve transfers the information to the cochlear nuclei present in the brainstem. Okay, that is about hearing. Balance, to summarize balance, there are two types of balance, static balance and kinetic balance. Static balance arises from the receptor called macula present within the saccular utricle, and this passes via the vestibular ganglion. The central process of this ganglion will go towards the again brainstem, superior, inferior, medial and lateral vestibular nuclei in the brainstem. Whereas the kinetic equilibrium is maintained by semicircular canals. Within the ampulla there is a receptor called crista ampullaris. The neurons beginning from here again carries the information via the vestibular ganglion towards the brainstem into the superior, inferior, medial and lateral vestibular nuclei. So if I move my head in the anterior-posterior plane, that is forwards and backwards, the superior semicircular canal gives the information. If I move my head side to side, that is from one shoulder to another shoulder, the posterior semicircular canal fluid will move and crista ampullaris of that will be get stimulated. If I move my head in a horizontal or a transverse plane similar to Bharatanatyam dancer who is spinning, then the lateral semicircular canal is giving the information. So this is about the nerve which helps in hearing and balance. Thank you for watching and learning from Logic Medico. Kindly press the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get the latest notification of our videos. Thank you once again. Bye.